2 to 3 hours before going to bed is probably the most sacred time to support your cortisol. You don't want to watch a scary movie just before going to bed. You don't want to be having a big meal on alcohol before going to bed. That's not setting yourself up for success. Having quiet time, chill time, reading a book, doing things that are more relaxing and disconnecting from technology is probably the single most important thing we can do 2 to 3 hours before bed. Controlling cortisol and supporting your levels throughout the day is something to be mindful of, right? Taking breaks, getting up, going for a walk, especially at night, in the evening, what we call sleep hygiene, the 2 to 3 hours before going to bed is probably the most sacred time to support your cortisol. You don't want to watch a scary movie just before going to bed. You don't want to be having a big meal on alcohol before going to bed. It doesn't work, especially as we get older, right? We have metabolism, has to process. And so as you get older, your bowels, your digestive system can't hold on to the food as well as it used to. So if you have a heavy meal late at night and then go to bed, your body's going to wake you up and you're going to need the bathroom. So that's not setting yourself up for success.
Yeah.
So having quiet time, chill time, reading a book, doing things that are more relaxing and disconnecting from technology is probably the single most important thing we can do 2 to 3 hours before bed. Have a hot shower, a warm bath, have a ritual about going to bed so that you set yourself up for success. You certainly don't want to be talking to your financial advisor at 30 minutes before going to bed.
Yeah, there's been a couple times, man, where, like, I'll be stressed with the business, and I start going down the spreadsheet rabbit hole before
Oh,
going to bed, and I'm like, "Man, I'm just screwed. There's no going to bed now."
been there, done that, brother. Been there, done that, right? I mean, I'm not a saint. I do this. I have some bad habits that I try to get myself out of as well. But it all makes sense, right? I mean, if you're stressed and your brain is wired and you've got monkey brain, you can't fall asleep. You can't fall asleep. You can't stay asleep because your
Mhm.
brain will kick back on and you go to sleep, you get a few hours, all of a sudden you're up at 1 in the morning. You're like, I'm still thinking about that, right? Because I can't turn my brain off, right? It's still going. And that disrupts that sleep pattern. And so you're not functioning your very best the next day. Things are slower. It's sluggish. Then you run to food to try and give you more energy to keep you awake. And you see the cycle. And
Mhm.
so it's very important to be mindful of, your sleep. I think that's more important than anything else that we have in our health world, right? Yes, you can say exercise, food, water, all that. But if you do not sleep, you cannot function.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope for sure. I mean, I get pre-routine lab work done, and if I have a period of, compromised sleep, my testosterone literally gets cut in half. Like, it's pretty drastic. Um,
Yeah,
do
I
you
mean, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because, honestly, you don't need labs to tell you what your cortisol levels are.
Yeah.
Just track your sleep, man. If you're sleeping really good like a baby, you're either really blessed or you've mastered the art of unwinding or not letting things bother you so that you can get into a more relaxed state. But if you are not sleeping, I can tell you your cortisol's high. You don't need to go get it tested.
Do you use, like, a sleep tracking device like an Oura Ring or Garmin watch or anything like that?
I personally don't. I have a smart bed and the bed will tell me, but I don't need it because I'm now so aware of my sleep. I can tell if I've slept well. If I wake up and I am raring to go, I know I got a good night's sleep. My deep sleep was on point, 60 to 90 minutes. I know I probably got my 7 to 8 hours simply by looking at the clock as when I went to sleep and when I woke up. But if I wake up and I'm dragging, I'm sluggish, I just know I had a really bad sleep
Yeah.
and isn't going to function. And in some cases, you can offset that. So if you've had a really bad night's sleep, and typically you don't, if you do work out in the morning, you can trick your body into getting back into sync, right? The last thing you kind of want to do is go to the fridge and try and eat your way out of it, which a lot of people do. They're like, I need more coffee. I need this. Not going to help. But maybe go for a walk, get outside, get some fresh air. That might invigorate you and help offset some of that. And then just make sure that the following day, you really are maniacal for that sleep hygiene process. So sleep hygiene is the 2 or 3 hours before bed we've spoken about, but also the environment that you sleep in. So a dark room, a room that's at least 63 to 65 degrees in temperature, right? You don't want a hot room. Your body needs to lower its body temperature to fall asleep. You want to make sure you're not sleeping in polyester or synthetic fibers that keep you hot, because as soon as your body gets too hot, you wake up.
Hmm.
And so it's about that. Also, listening to some sleep music is wonderful, helps get your body relaxed and into a meditative state and fall asleep and stay asleep. So there's a bunch of things in the sleep hygiene category that I highly recommend that we do. And let's not get caught up in trying to track data, right? You know if you slept well and you know if you slept really poorly. It's
Hmm.
not rocket science, but it is on a 24-hour cycle. So you have 2 or 3 or 4 days of bad sleep, you're a zombie and you know it.
Totally agree. Yeah, I've really doubled down on sleep hygiene. Like I got one of those thermoregulating mattress toppers that keeps it cool throughout the night, which was
That's awesome.
massively impactful in a positive way. Another thing that I've noticed is from a circadian rhythm standpoint, like I've really focused on going to sleep and waking at the same time each night, regardless of weekday versus weekend. And I feel like a lot of people totally shift that during the weekend. But I think keeping it consistent improves overall circadian rhythm so that your body's ready and willing to wake up when you would like it to and go to sleep when you need it to.
Yeah, you don't need me on this podcast, Robert. You are well educated on this subject. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. My body is absolutely in sync 7 days a week. I'm in bed before 9 and I'm awake about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I'm off to the gym 7 days a week. It is about consistency. Your body likes consistency. Your body does not like when it's 7, then 9, then 10, then 11. It just, bedtime varies. There is no rhythm, no circadian kind of rhythm that you alluded to that your body can get into, that's sequencing with ideally the moon and the sun, right? Because your body
Hmm.
needs sunlight. It needs that. We were designed to fall asleep when the sun went down. We were designed to wake up when the sun comes up. But
Totally.
all our luxuries and technologies and inventions that we have manifested over centuries has slowly cut into that sequencing, which is 100% natural. So if you can be consistent like you are, that's ideal, because your body just tells you it's time for bed. You can't fight it anymore, right? Your body is just simply telling you, that's it, I'm done. So when our friends say, let's have like 7 o'clock dinner reservations, half the time we're like, we'll do it, but we are fighting through it because, of course, you have to be social. You can't do that. So it's not about being perfect, and you strive for it. But we suffer the next day because our body will wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock. It isn't negotiable. Our body will naturally wake us up at that point because it's been trained to do that.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know why people do these things so late at night. Like I'm old in that setting, man. Like I do not like staying up past 9 p.m. no matter what. When it comes to the circadian rhythm that you talked about, waking up with the sun, etc., how much emphasis do you put on like the light therapies, like the blue light blocking glasses, things of that nature?
It's all very viable. I mean, I don't put an emphasis on one thing over another other than protect sleep and make sure
Mhm.
that sleep is the thing that you guard the most. Because I think people get caught up in, I need to do this exactly this way. And we're all different. And so what affects you may not affect me and vice versa. And so I think there's a lot of room for experimentation and trying to figure it out. So I'm not a big absolute guy.
Mhm.
I do believe in blue light is very challenging for us, and we're in front of it all day long. I mean, you and I are in front of it right now. We've got the screens coming at us, our lights in our studios are coming at us, and that's blue light. And that's doing the job of saying, okay, you need to stay awake and it's daytime. And so your body is creating cortisol at the healthy levels, which is like you said, you need, right? It's the fight or flight levels we don't need. And so if you're fighting your body because it's say 10 o'clock at night, you're watching TV, you've got screens, not only are you fighting the blue light, but you're fighting the content that's coming at you, and you're artificially telling your body to release more cortisol. And
Mhm.
what you're doing is you're suppressing melatonin release. Your body makes melatonin when cortisol hits to a certain point and your body's like, okay, it's time to go to bed and start to regenerate. But if you're constantly pushing cortisol up and up and up because you're getting this blue light infusion and the content coming at you, whether it's a cell phone, computer screen, or a television, you're simply suppressing melatonin and you're tricking your body saying it's still daylight, it's still daylight. And so your body isn't in sync anymore. So yeah, I'm a big believer in blue light filters whether it's in your glasses or you have specific blue light lenses when you watch TV at night. Things like Kindles don't have that issue, which is a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful way of reading, or read from a book, an old-fashioned book.
Old-fashioned book, man. Who would have thought that would have been a biohack?
Absolutely, an old-fashioned book, right?
Thank you for watching this episode of The Savage Clip. If you want to see the full-blown deep dive, check out the full episode here, and I'll see you there.